Stefon Diggs gets some love in the Texans. They've built one of the best wide receiving rooms in the NFL. Let's go through the wild half decade that was and relive a little bit of that. Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize. Every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got
All right, so the Texans wide receiver group getting a lot of love. It is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me right here throughout the season. We got you covered. If you need to know what's going on with the Texans and what's going on with Houston, then you've come to the right place. Cole Beasley joined the show earlier. It was this morning. Yeah, earlier this morning. And he had interesting things to say. And I think this is where the whole theme of tonight's stream starts. 2019. I was there. Many of you were there. Deshaun Watson in his second full year as a starter, hosting the Buffalo Bills at NRG. Texans end up winning the game. Deshaun Watson, his name's getting chanted. Deshaun Magic, the Bills, who happen to have Cole Beasley on their team, they end up losing. And then this is where stuff gets really interesting, and this is where the story starts. 2019 against the Bills. Let's hear what Cole Beasley thought about that. Remember game. About the playoff game in 2019. Y'all were pretty well in control of that one. And then Deshaun Watson kind of happened, and it looked like these two teams would be going in similar directions. We'll get to why they didn't and something that is even more connected. But what do you remember about that 2019 game?
That game pisses me off, man, because I felt like we were the better team, honestly, and I feel like we played conservative and took our foot off the gas on that one. And I've learned just throughout at that point in my career, I was, I don't know, year 8, I guess, and I'm being in Dallas. I don't know, probably played in 3 or 4 playoff games at the time already, and just from being in there. In the playoffs, it's different, man. You can't ever play conservative. You just got to play like it's 0-0 the entire game. That's something I kind of learned through my career, and I don't feel like we did that. And I feel like we lost that one. More so than they won it. I mean, they had a good team, but I don't know.
There was some weird stuff that happened in that one. I remember there was the kickoff where he just dropped it in the end zone, Carter, and then it kind of, I think y'all were going to go up 17, then the Watson run in the end zone, and then the dump off to Jones at the end. But yeah, I can tell that you didn't like that one, but y'all did. Now, and this is where things get interesting. So 2019, 2 teams in the same position, Texans, Bills, one with a star receiver, one team that many felt was a wide receiver away in the Buffalo Bills. And we go to March of that year, 2019, and we have 2 different trades. The Buffalo Bills, they decided to trade for Stefon Diggs. They felt like they were a player away. They traded for Stefon Diggs. We've seen Stefon Diggs, one of the best players in the league, and I don't think they regret making that trade. And meanwhile, the Houston Texans, they traded DeAndre Hopkins. And these 2 teams in similar areas. The team that won decided to trade DeAndre Hopkins. The team that lost decided to trade for a wide receiver. And then stuff just came tumbling down. Bill O'Brien never won another football game. He started out the season 0-4. He ends up getting fired. And then down goes the king in 2020 as Buffalo is developing into, with Stefon Diggs, one of the biggest threats to the Chiefs. So 2020 goes by. The Texans, the wide receiver position's weird. We can even talk about the demise of Will Fuller. Who can forget how good Will Fuller was with Deshaun Watson? You had that whole ordeal, that strange thing. Hell, he might not have even played 3 games since. He went to Miami, had the suspension, and then we haven't heard anything from Will Fuller, as good as he was with Deshaun Watson. And the wide receiver position just completely becomes just a very, very, very area of concern. You bring in Randall Cobb, one of the worst contracts. You're shuffling guys in and out. And then in 2021 through 2022, you go through the mud and you get Nico Collins in a draft in which you didn't even have a first round pick. You just paid him on the same scale as top 10, top 15 wide receivers. And then you draft Tank Dell on day 2 of the draft. Some stuff goes your way to where you get that. Even heading into last season, when football returned in 2023 to Houston, the wide receiver position, there it was an area of concern. We figured that maybe they would be on the market, not that they would be doing this as a luxury, which is what they did, though. They ended up trading for Stefon Diggs. So Stefon Diggs in a 5-year window, you go from beating Buffalo in the playoffs and their biggest problem being, hey, we need to get a wide receiver, and then making that move, to completely falling off after that playoff game. I think that was the last time there were a large number of butts in seats. Might have been the last sellout before last season. And then 5 years later, exactly 5 years later, or four-ish years later, you end up trading for Stefon Diggs. How about that? Life comes at you really, really fast. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. I'm Landry Locker. Be sure to subscribe, like, ride along. Appreciate you for coming through on the stream. Appreciate you if you missed the full Cole Beasley interview. That is available in the link here as well as on the page. And speaking of Diggs, he had a lot of interesting things to say about Tank Dell and other things, but here was Cole Beasley talking about his former teammate Stefon Diggs, who he was all pro with in 2020, and they've always had a lot of love for each other.
Yeah, I hated that one.
But y'all did after that. This is where I think the Bills continued to go up and the Texans went down. The Texans traded DeAndre Hopkins. I remember I was on the air when that happened. That was an absolute bleep show. And then y'all traded for Stefon Diggs, who is now a member of the Texans. Polarizing topic, to be honest, but I thought that, it's interesting because you go back and you see some of the stuff that Diggs has said about you and the stuff that you've said about Diggs. And, you get a lot of people saying that, he could be a diva and coming into a locker room and stuff like that. But I've never heard a teammate really say anything bad about him, at least not publicly. I texted Brian Robinson after they traded for him just to ask. He said he was a good guy going back to the Minnesota days. And I watched an old news story where you came back to Buffalo in 2022 and Diggs said something like, I hugged Beasley 3 times or something like that. And then he's put out some appreciation tweets of that. What is Stefon Diggs like based on your experience as a teammate?
The whole diva thing is like, I don't think there is any number one wide receiver who's not. Do you know what I mean? So it's like that's everybody. But I don't even think the people know when they're saying that what that even means. Because to me, a diva is like I don't know, someone who's like scared to get their hands dirty. You know what I mean? And Steph is one of the hardest working players that I've played with. And there's been a lot of guys that I've played with that don't want to practice, that they got an injury that's kind of nagging them. They're like, I can't do it today. He's not one of those guys. He'll fight through everything. And when he touches that field, dude, whether it's a practice or a game, he's the same guy. And he's one of the hardest practice players I've ever seen. And
he's a funny dude.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good coming from a guy that's like establishes him and knows he's going to get his targets no matter what. Like he could go out there and kind of half-ass it and still, you're the number one guy. They're going to throw you the ball. One of the best teammates. I always said he's my favorite number one wideout.
For more of that interview, just go to the link and you can check that out. I think it's just crazy in about a half decade how crazy and how full circle the wide receiver position has gone. So CJ Stroud, we saw CJ Stroud was at this Michael Rubin all white party, and they filmed some stuff on the beach. He was with Tom Brady. Let's look at this video. The Texans actually posted it. CJ Stroud. I think the Michael Rubin all white party is the new past Diddy party, where Diddy used to have his all white party. So I guess he kind of inherited that. But here's CJ and Tom Brady getting some work in on the beach.
I got the first pick. We got Trav. We got OBJ coming. They got 2 quarterbacks. You're not doing that. CJ, look at all types of skill levels over here. He's already. Look at that blocking, Tom. What it look like? What it look like? What we doing? Come on, Tom. Damn, that's all day. Now you want to down? What's going on here?
You know, Michael's gonna bring his A game every time.
There you go. Oh, there we go, CJ. Another CJ. What we doing?
We good. We good. Bro.
Hey, shoot. Yes, go. These boys tired. That got me one from TV.
And Michael Rubin's gonna hurt himself, man.
Good game, boys. Good game. Hey.
Rubin's gonna hurt himself, man, out there messing around with this. But yeah, that's the party. It's kind of an annual thing with CJ Stroud at the party. I actually heard something kind of interesting about this yesterday. I was peeping TMZ. Apparently, you can't bring a +1 to this party. So, you can't bring dates or anything. You just got to show up as is, and then this is just kind of the thing. So, CJ Stroud getting some one-on-one time with Tom Brady, Michael Rubin, and some other guys. So, famous folks, whatever. Interesting, to say the least. I don't know the Rubin thing. The Fanatics does seem like the go-to. I don't know a ton about him. Speaking of receivers, it is the Locker Room, #1 source for Texans digital content. Check out the Cole Beasley, Gary Kubiak interviews. If you have not, plenty of stuff coming. The schedule is going to be more frequent and more consistent once the season begins, and we'll be on the scene at camp. I don't know if y'all checked this out or not, but Receiver dropped on Netflix today. If you watch the quarterback joint that they had, kind of similar to that, I enjoyed it. I am intrigued to hear what people think of George Kittle after this. I don't know if he's gaining fans or losing fans with his portion. It's kind of a tough battle to find. I'm about an episode and a half through. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. Nico Collins' name is brought up as one of the receivers that was selected before him. I love him. I love it. I love like the dynamic with his Mr. Universe dad. Debo, I like Debo. I think Debo is a badass. He's just a rare type of ball player in the NFL. I enjoy watching him. They just did they just started with Jefferson. Jefferson's pretty cool dude, pretty laid back. Seems like he's basically introducing you to like his off-field versus his on-field personality, where he's laid back. I know his parents are there and stuff. He's just kind of hanging out. He likes candy, all that. But he's got multiple personalities. And one of them is really, really rich and really, really badass. And then we got Devontae Adams, who seems just like a normal dude. Devontae Adams is pretty cool. But I would strongly recommend checking out Receiver, which dropped on Netflix. Be sure to let me know, too, what y'all think of George Kittle. Like, do you like George Kittle more? Do you like him less? Does he bug you? I don't know. I think he's going to be the one that's going to generate the most reaction for sure. Also does kind of seem like he knows when he's mic'd up and all of that. Be sure to check out the Beasley post. There's not really a ton of stuff going on right now with the Texans. The players are on vacation. They're returning next week. They'll be on the field exactly a week from today. So we'll have you covered. We'll have some exclusive stuff there, and we're going to keep this going. Appreciate y'all. Be sure to spread the word of the best Texan stream in the game. We're approaching the 2-year anniversary, trying to get up to 10K, and it's only going to get better. It's only going to get more frequent. There's only going to be more stuff going on. So appreciate you for coming through. Shout out to Cole Beasley for coming through. Shout out to all you for coming through. It's been another edition of the Locker Room. Again, longer streams once the season goes on, but this one was a little bit short. Appreciate y'all for coming through very much. Be sure to check out that Beasley interview, which is, by the way, half hour.
The game in the headlock, localized every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up, we number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker